right, for today's gear reviews, this Marantz Model 18 from 1968, I finally pulled the trigger on one. I've been talking about this particular receiver for a long time. I've been looking for one for a long time. And I'm glad I finally found one. I was looking at eBay one night and Marantz 18 popped into my head, and I started looking at listings and went through a few, and over the course of a couple of days I kept looking for an 18. This one popped up. It was being sold by Audio Classics of New York. They are known for being Macintosh experts. If you're looking for Macintosh parts, if you're looking to have a Macintosh restored, they also sell other brands and products, but they are the people to go to. And they listed this on their eBay store, or in their eBay store, and they said that they fully tested it. They said it's in perfect condition, and I couldn't get the money out of my pocket fast enough. Now, I totally overpaid for this, which is uncharacteristic for me. I normally will try to pick up a bargain, but I just had to scratch the itch. It had been like a couple of years. I got interested in this receiver when I saw Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino, the scene where Brad Pitt, he's partaking in some drug usage, and he goes to turn the radio on, and he tunes the dial, and Vanilla Fudge comes on, and yeah, it's a great scene. I saw the Marantz badge, I saw the old stereo, I heard the song, and I was hooked instantly. So I thought, if I can ever find one of those, I'm going to get one, and I finally did. Now, for the Marantz Model 18, these were made in 1968. They were top of the line for 1968. They're Marantz's first solid-state receiver. The first to offer the gyro touch tuning. There are a couple of different year ranges that you can find on the internet. Hi-Fi Engine says 1968. Classic Audio, their reference says they made these or sold these between 68 and 73, but I could not find any catalogs or brochures. And finding a Marantz or catalog brochure is really difficult anyway, but I could not find one to validate that range. But I'm not saying they weren't sold as late as 73, but I am pretty sure this is probably closer to 68, 69, 70. But that's what Classic Audio says. I found a 1970 catalog with a Model 18 in there. Model 18 was listed as top of the line alongside of a Model 22, a Model 25, and they had the Model 25, I think, with the turntable, like an all-in-one, and then they had a Model 26, and that's all the catalog listed. No other receivers were listed in there. 40 watts per channel. As far as other information about the series, this is a US-made Marantz. Now, early Model 19s were made in the US, but I believe, according to my research, they shifted production to Japan at some point. I saw 1973 referenced as a year where early ones were made in the US, and then everything beyond that point was made in Japan. I don't know. So your mileage is going to vary on that. The Model 19 is similar. It has an oscilloscope like the 18. There are some cosmetic differences. It doesn't have this black strip across the top. Sometimes you can have, I think down here there's a black panel, and then I think the Marantz may have a black panel on some models, but this isn't about the 19, this is about the 18. And then again, you have the 22, which I did a review on a 22. That's a really nice receiver, a 22, 25, and 26, and I've had a couple of Model 26s and 28s pass through my hands. Those are pretty cool. I like the earlier Marantz aesthetic. I like 2270s. I got a 2275 right now that I purchased at an estate sale. I didn't do a video on it, but I've recapped it, and I've been listening to that, and Marantz is starting to kind of grow on me a little bit. But I prefer this old aesthetic. And again, I was a total sucker for the product placement, if you want to look at it that way in the movie. So mid-century modern Marantz sounds like an old school Marantz. It's got a warmer sound to it. I literally, quite literally, just pulled this out of the box 30 minutes ago, put it on my test speakers, made sure it was making sound. Sounds great, no scratchiness in the pots. As you can see, the oscilloscope is working. But it sounds kind of like the 22. I actually brought the 22 back here within the last week because I thought that I had not recorded a video on it. So I was getting ready to do one, and then I did one last check on YouTube, and I realized that I had recorded one. So the sound is fresh in my memory. Hookups are easy except for speakers. You know, it's screw type speaker terminals. You know, similar to a Macintosh. I'm gonna use some banana plug adapters like I do on all my Macintosh gear, so there's no potential of, like, you know, having some wires crossed or having a speaker cable come loose in the back. So I'm going to be using those. So I'm not a fan of the speaker terminals, but we have regular RCA cables. I'm going to jump into the frame real quick. I just got to look at one thing. You know, this is early solid state, so no split amp and preamp on this one. Operation. So operation is pretty easy on this, and I'm gonna go from left to right and then come back to the left. So here we have dubbing for tape in and out, and then you have your function selector, phono, FM, tape, auxiliary 1 and auxiliary 2, balance, volume, split, bass and treble. Then over here we have speakers, off, main, both, or remote. Power switch. A lot of times you'll see this power switch is not functioning on these. I'm probably going to not press my luck with this, and I'm going to run this through like a remote control outlet strip. I use it on my Macintosh 1500, so I'll probably just run this through something I can turn off and on remotely. You have the gyro touch tuner or tuning dial. Muting off, high filter, low filter, high blend. I'm going to come back to audio display here in a second. Phono 2, so you have Phono 1 and Phono 2. You have mono, left plus right, tape monitor, and then audio display. So audio display, naturally, if the audio display button is pushed in, you can see the oscilloscope kind of doing its thing. Now this audio, or the oscilloscope, can actually be used for a couple of different reasons. You can use it with the FM tuner to help kind of figure out if your tuner's aligned, and you can figure out phase of your speakers and things like that. So it's cool to look at, but it actually serves some functions. These two dials here are for moving, right? There's a little dot in the middle there, so you can kind of move it around. In Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, they don't actually show the oscilloscope, but in one scene, Brad Pitt is kind of backing away, and I think I can grab a screen image of it, and you can kind of see a little tiny dot where the oscilloscope is, but it's not doing this. If they would have done this in the movie, again, I was sold anyway. So you have the oscilloscope, and it's centering, right? It's centering controls right there. Serviceability, advanced, especially the oscilloscope. So lots of goofy parts in here. I don't know that, you know, I'm going to say mechanically getting to things is difficult, at least from what I've seen and what I can see on this. But replacing components, getting the right components in the right spot, working with the oscilloscope, I think is, from what I've seen, this is an advanced receiver to work on. I have not done any work on this. I'm going to be working on this. It's just not, I'm not going to be working on it right away. I'm going to use it for a little bit, make sure it pans out. I was picking up stereo FM signals in my garage without an antenna, so that's pretty good. Down here I don't get anything, at least I get no stereo separation. So advanced. Now, common issues with these, the oscilloscope and its associated components. I haven't done a dive into that yet. When I decide to restore this electronically, I will be doing the oscilloscope and the circuit, and I will talk about all of that stuff then. But you know, the oscilloscope, and then it's general old receiver things, right? So out of spec capacitors and transistors and all of those things. So you have all of that to look forward to. Other common issues. Now this is a cosmetic issue, but everything I've read, the lettering on the back of this glass is super fragile. Like, even if in the absence of any type of solvent, you can rub the numbers off or the little tick marks off, is what I've read. When I get into this, I'm going to treat that like a baby. Radio days, from what I understand, they do a reproduction. I don't know how good that looks or the availability of that right now, but it's very common to see these with the lettering or the numbering, really not lettering. The numbering, more often than not, is going to be wiped off on the back. So you got to be aware of that. So the things that I would look for, basically, and what I did look for on this was, number one, the cosmetics, because that's kind of where I've landed on a lot of these things. I want to make sure it looks good, especially if it's something I'm likely able to sort out. So it's cosmetics. I want to make sure everything is present, that this receiver is clean, in good shape. I want to make sure the oscilloscope at least has some light to it. If it's dead, that's a whole other ball game in terms of restoring that. So I wanted to make sure that at least the oscilloscope is working. I want to make sure the knobs are present. I want to make sure there's numbering on the back of the glass. Again, power, you can jump this, is what I would do, jump it and then use an external, unless there's some reason I can't and I haven't done a dive deep enough into this to know exactly what's going on with that. And then any service history, if someone's restored it or recapped it or whatever, if they've done work to the oscilloscope, exactly what they've done. So I would definitely look for all of those. But, again, the more I do this, the more I really appreciate clean units. When I started, I was like, I don't care. I just want to be able to fix it. I just want to get it working. I just want to, But now it's like, I've had to chase so many cosmetic parts and knobs, and I've dealt with so many scratched faceplates and so many trashed cabinets and so many, I just don't want to do that anymore. So I'd rather have something that's a really clean carcass, right? Like, looks like it walked right out of whatever year it was made, and then I can sort everything out after that. I mean, there's one little tiny rust spot here about the size of, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch, and then a little tiny bit of the black coating on the aluminum heat sink came off. And you can hardly see it. Like, this thing is just beautiful. It's perfect. It's just about perfect. Now, these did come in a cabinet. It's a WC9. It's not the 22. I think it's a WC9. There's one out there on eBay I'm considering trying to pick up, but I think I like this better outside of the cabinet because it's so clean. Now, that's not to say I won't get a cabinet for it, but I'm in no hurry to get a cabinet for it right now. So it's going to just kind of sit like this. I don't know how much I'm going to use it. I don't want to press my luck with the electronic components in here. I haven't even opened it up to look at it. I mean, I trust Audio Classics. They said everything checked out, but I don't know if someone's done work on this or not. So, I don't want to press my luck and have this thing blow up and then I really have to sort something out. So when I talk about prices, you have to consider that these came with a cabinet. So, the prices are going to flex. Maybe, for whatever I say could be $100 more or $200 more. The cabinets actually sell, one just sold for like $450. So, and a lot of these sell without the cabinet. So it's really kind of hard, and I'm totally making up the prices because as of today, one sold, and no, I take that back. I think 2 sold with an actual price. Everything else was best offer. Most of them did not have the cabinets except for one that was sold for parts, but I even think that was or best offer. So again, this is going to be a complete wag, and I'm going to put the hat on of the guy that, okay, if I took this to 402 vinyl, what would I price it at? Based upon looking at prices over all of this different gear over, the past 4 or 5 years, what would I value this at, or what would I advertise it for, right? What would I mark it? So, and I'm going to go without the cabinet. So you can go ahead and add $200 to $300 to $400 for whatever I'm going to say. Now, one like this, perfect cosmetic condition. After it's been serviced, after it's been recapped, any modifications that are necessary, everything is working. Looks like it walked right out of 1968. I would say $1,300. Again, with a cabinet, that's going to be plus another $300 to $400, $1,600, $1,700. People have these out there that have been worked on, restored, and the prices are crazy. And I'm not saying that they can't get $2,000 or $2,500 for one of these, but I think that those prices are pretty aggressive. So again, if I took this down to the shop today after I have recapped it in this condition without a cabinet, probably $1,300 is what I would put on it. One that's in good user condition. So maybe it's got, a couple of additional, age marks. It's got some scratches. Maybe it's not as clean. Lettering, maybe any lettering, or I keep saying lettering, any numbering that's missing. Maybe it's not really, it's hard to tell. Power switch is working, oscilloscope is working, it makes sound. You've got all the knobs, the lights work. Basically it's just maybe a little beat up, or you got to sort out a couple of minor issues, excluding the oscilloscope. Right around $1,000, $900, right, $900 to $1,000 for one that's in good working condition. And then a parts unit, one sold for parts for about $600, and so I'd say sub $600. There's one I wanted to get this one first, and then there's another one out there, and I fall into the trap where it's like, ooh, I got one, so maybe I need to get another one, and then I end up with two of these things because I get the second one super cheap, but then the second one that's super cheap is usually a basket case. So if I can get it cheap enough, I might buy it, but right now they have it out there for $600. I may throw an offer at them for like $400 and see if they take it. I doubt they will, but if they did, maybe it would be a good idea to have some parts around, but I think that's just me justifying trying to buy another one of these. So, yeah, so 600 on the parts end, 1,300 or more on the restored end, and then right in the middle for users, I think is probably a pretty good, not a pretty good price. I think that's the going price for these. So super excited. Excuse me while I stand back behind the camera and cast a shadow. Super excited about the Marantz 18. Not excited to work on it. Excited to have one. This weekend I'm going to put this into my office where I will listen to it daily and wait for the little gremlins to make themselves known so I can have some kind of direction. And really what I do is I use it until it gives me a reason to go and work on it. Right? That's just kind of how I do it. I may change on this though. I may decide to just recap it. Go in and restore it and do all the things I need to do. There's a really good thread on Audio Karma where a guy went through and painstakingly described and detailed his restoration on this, and I'm going to use that as my source, right, my guide as I go through the steps to do it. I'll flash an image of it up here. Oh, and by the way, the Marantz 18 that was used in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it was purchased off by, I don't think it was purchased off of Audio Karma, but it was purchased by an Audio Karma user, and there are 2 or 3 threads that are kind of linked together that talk about that Marantz 18 and some of the behind the scenes, and it might even say how much they paid for it, which I don't know. I might be mixing some of the Marantz 18 threads up, but yeah, this is just super cool. I'm so excited about this. This normally would enter the queue and it'd be released later on down the road. I'm going to do the service on it probably later on down the road, but I think I'm going to release this one just a little bit early, right? So this is going to be one of those contemporary releases, not one that you have to wait 2 years to watch. Even though this is probably the only Marantz 18 review out there, and if I was a chump, I would say, oh, you have to pay $2.99 to access this video, right? But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put this out there because all the other Marantz 18 videos are like someone turning it on and listening to music and not really talking about it. So anyway, that's enough rambling. Marantz 18, I'm so happy I finally got one. When I get around to working on it, I will shoot some video and share that experience with the channel. So as always, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and I will catch you all in the next video.